Hey guys, welcome back to the Revive Stronger podcast. I'm your host, as always, Steve Hall, and this week I am talking to Dr. Andy Chappell. We are talking all about his 2022 season as a pro natural bodybuilder. He did 5 shows if you count his guest posing at the WNBF Island. And we dig into that, the highs, the lows, what went well, what could go better, and what the future holds for Andy as well. I think not only do you get a cool story behind a very dedicated competitor for the season, but you get some insights into how that might impact you if you are coaching someone to stage or if you're taking yourself to stage as well. And as a reminder, we do have our ultimate guide to contest prep. This is an ebook that you can get hold of, and this takes you all the way from kind of things to think about before stepping on stage and even start your contest prep, through the thick of it, the digging phase, the peaking, and then even the recovery phase afterwards, which we touch on a little bit during this podcast as well. But without further ado, let's get into the show. Hi guys, welcome back to the Revive Stronger podcast. I'm your host, as always, Steve Hall, and today I have Andy Chappell back on the show. I was just saying it's 2 months since we were on and we were chatting about my judging experience at the WNBF Supernaturals, which was a great experience. And Andy, for those who don't know, was also competing this season. So he's been stripping off the body fat, and now I guess you're feeling fairly recovered because you last stepped off stage like end of November. It's now, well, actually, I suppose it's not been long. It's been a number of weeks. So how are you feeling, Andy?
Oh, I'm feeling much better. Thanks very much. Despite this little cold that I've got. Was it only about 2 months ago we did the other podcast?
It's crazy.
Wonder where time goes sometimes, don't you?
Yeah.
My cheeks have fairly filled out since then, and I knew you'd ask me about this. So I weighed myself for the show, and I think they weighed me in at 176.8 pounds, which is 80.1. And I weighed myself this morning, so I'm 86 kilos. So I'm 6 kilos heavier from that, and I certainly feel much more recovered since November. So I think we're pushing about 3.5 weeks since I've been on stage. And I was in LA. I mean, if you're going to gain weight after a competition, guys, America is the place to do it. The land of the burger and the doggy bag for a reason. Like, everything is huge portion sizes, and I mean, I was not reverse dieting or not reverse dieting in the slow, gradual sense.
Yeah, for sure. And I think actually that's a good place to start in a way. Has your post-show kind of, obviously you've been competing a long time, you've done many seasons. Has it evolved as you've kind of learned how better to transition out of like the post-show period? Has that been a struggle for you? I know some people struggle with the post-show period.
That's a good question. It's a really, really good one. And I was thinking about how to answer this because I like I say, I knew you were going to ask this. When I first started, this sort of the concept of the reverse dieting, it wasn't really a thing. So people weren't really sort of talking about it. I think Championship Bodybuilding, which is Chris Aceto's book, had a little bit of an idea about it. But I think maybe Lee Norton, when he came up with this concept of metabolic damage, and people were talking about it, that only maybe really started around about 2010, 2011, I think.
Yeah.
Correct. Someone will probably correct me somewhere. But so that wasn't a really thing. But the thing that was really popular was like, okay, post-contest, what you were supposed to do was you were supposed to get that post-contest rebound, gain as much weight as you possibly could because you were like a sponge, obviously, and you were going to miraculously gain an extra 1 or 2 kilograms more muscle than you were always going to ever gain. Now, that we all kind of know that doesn't really happen, right? I wish it did, but it doesn't really work like that. So my approach had always been, oh, well, I need to gain weight, obviously, after the contest. And I kind of did that from being a junior up until I became a mister. And I kind of then I realized that there wasn't a lot of value in kind of doing that. But I was always very conscious of this notion that, and maybe it comes from the sports science that I studied, that when Olympic athletes did their Olympic cycles, post that, they really needed to have that downtime so that they could recover both physiologically and psychologically as well. And being a big football fan, everyone knows you've got that sort of end the season where they all go on holiday, they take that sort of period of time off, they go to the beaches and stuff like that. And then they come back and they train really hard for pre-season. So I always kind of looked at it as well in that sort of context as well. Ronnie Coleman was a very prominent bodybuilder at the time, along with Kevin Levrone, and those guys were famous for just taking time off post-contest as well to let themselves recover too. Some of that, I think, was obviously from the recovery from the drug regimes that they were doing. So, in answer to your whole question, yeah, the approach that I kind of took early when I started was gain the weight quickly. Little did I know that it was actually probably doing me good to help me from my hormonal perspective and get back to normal. Later on, I sort of realized that actually it was probably still a good thing, even if I wasn't doing it for the sake of necessarily gaining it this muscle mass. And then now I kind of sort of take it from a perspective of like a psychological point of view. Like I've done 10 months of prepping for a show, or maybe close to 11 months. I just wanted to take a little break now when I've finished. I know that I'm going to maybe, if I compete next year or the year after it, taking that little bit of time off is not going to do me that much harm in the long run. And as long as I keep myself around about this 86, 87 kilogram mark, it'll be fine. I'll just, I'm intuitively eating, if you like, just now. I've had all the snacks I think that I need to have. I've got that out of my system. And then the other thing is I need my body just to kind of recover a little bit, because I've got this niggle that I had all year with my back. It feels so much better. I mean, who'd have thought just taking time off would make the biggest difference? And as I always say to people, if you were a footballer or a rugby player and you hurt your knee, they probably have you in crutches and taking a month off and not doing deadlifts on the side because it doesn't aggravate it. So that little bit of time off's been good as well. So I just think that psychological break is a good thing, but I'm very conscious it's personalities. It's totally personalities, and what I'm comfortable with doing compared to someone else. And because I work with people, you see it. Some people need to have that time where they get back in, they get that structure early on, because like they get anxious around it. But I think breaking that tunnel vision cycle is important as well. So that's a long answer to your question.
No, it's good, because like I agree. When I look back at how things were done originally, it was people would kind of rebound, and I think probably historically people took it too far, and then so that was one end of the pendulum, and then like the reverse diet came popular, and it was the other end of the pendulum where it was too slow, and now people are like, we need to like bring this in the middle somewhere where we gain a bunch of weight back, not too much. And like you said, it is individual dependent. It sounds like you deal quite well with just having that break, and you're not going to suddenly kind of go wild and gain like 20 kilos over stage and rebound the whole weight that you lost during your kind of competition. Whereas, other people need that structure and everything, which again comes from like your coaching experience, which makes complete sense. I've seen that too. And I'm that person that needs I need the structure a little bit. I can have a few days or maybe a week like I did in Vegas afterwards, which was great. That was the best kind of recovery period I could have hoped for, actually, because it forced me in that time to just go like, fuck it, I'm going to eat this food, which helped. And then I got back to structure when I was home. But yeah, that's really cool that you kind of, you avoided the really slow, meticulous, horrible reverse diet where you're still essentially not recovering. You're kind of extending the horrible part of prep in a way. In terms of, I don't think I had this as a question, but in terms of diet fatigue during prep, do you experience it severely? Like in terms of libido's gone, kind of cold all the time, food focus? Have you found that maybe as experience has grown, you've dealt with that better? But how do you what's the worst thing you find when you're dieting?
Oh, that's a good question as well. And I've got to give you props, by the way, Steve, because this is something that you're very good at within the industry, is that example of the pendulum swinging about on one end to the other end. What I've noticed from yourself over the years is you've got very good at saying the answer, guys, is probably somewhere in the middle. and fair play, like good on you for continuing to champion that. But to answer your question in terms of the diet and fatigue, oh gosh, I mean, you definitely experience it. The more that you do it, you just get used to that sort of lifestyle. I mean, this was, I think, my 10th season of bodybuilding. I know, right? So 10 seasons of bodybuilding in between seasons that I've had off of bodybuilding. And I did my first show when I was 19. So like I've spent like a good majority of my adult life like on a diet. So like for me, like I'm very used to that approach, and like you probably don't suffer, or at least I don't, with the missing out on stuff quite as much as you otherwise would like. But when you get to that sort of tail end of the diet, when the calories are much lower, that's when I think because your body's got that drive to go and eat, and you're probably craving more sort of high calorie foods, and you start thinking, oh, I could really go a donut, you know? Whereas like weeks and weeks prior to that wasn't an issue. In terms of symptoms though, I think I'm probably experiencing those things more. So sleep, like my sleep is terrible, like at the tail end of dieting. And I was thinking about this earlier on, and you've probably, I know you've had some great guests that come on and speak about sleep, and they would be able to give me some very good explanations as to why my sleep is messed up in such a way. So feel free to tell me what they are. But yeah, you go from getting 8 hours to like 6 to 4 hours of broken sleep, and that's pretty murder. The lack of energy and the lethargy. So just carrying your body around with you sometimes, right at the tail end as well. That's not the most fun. You definitely experience that. You notice the difference in terms of your libido. Certainly that just dive bombs at the end of the thing. But there's another thing as well, and I don't know if I experienced this more this time than other times, but like anxiety, just that sort of day-to-day anxiety goes up a little bit. And I remember we studied this on guys in the lab, and we looked at state and trait anxiety, and what we see is that the anxiety goes up in people when they're contest prepping. So it's just like little things like get my meals in, I'm going to make my meals slightly, or I've got to manage to get my training session in, or I've got to be somewhere, or going to be staying overnight. I get more anxious, more tetchy than normal. And those are the sort of main things that I think I experience. So the tiredness, the lack of sleep, the anxiety, and the loss of libido. I think I experience all those things, and they're more of an issue for me than food focus, than anything else, or that drive, because you just kind of get on with that.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. That is similar to how I've felt it maybe in the first preps, that food focus and things, like I didn't know how to deal with that as well. And as you kind of get used to that, you then are just like, man, I'm a shadow of my former self. I can't function as I normally can. And yeah, sleep is I think for like 99% of competitors goes to pretty shit. And I've spoken to, you're right, Greg Potter's the guy who I often bring on to talk about this. And there's not been like research done, of course, on these like competitors taken to stage and like looking at their sleep and why. But I believe it's probably he kind of puts it down to stress, and you're just in this kind of heightened stress kind of state, and so that just doesn't lead to productive sleep. Which there's not too much you can really do about that outside of your usual sleep hygiene. I think a lot of competitors go way too wild with caffeine, so I imagine you had a handle on that though.
Yeah, no, that thinking as well. Is it that people take more pre-workouts, more caffeine, and then that influences it? But then I think there was another variable there, and the stress thing makes sense. I mean, if you're dumping huge amounts of adrenal hormones all the time, then you're going to be more anxious, and that's probably going to influence your sleep. But yeah, they're pretty decent on my caffeine intake. I limit that probably 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, and maybe I would do an energy drink potentially, but not much more than that. And the days of taking fat burners, like I don't really, not anymore. They're just really high in caffeine anyway. I've not taken them for years. And then pre-workouts, I don't really often touch pre-workouts just because, again, I often work out in the evening and I can't sleep from the caffeine. So I kind of just avoid them. Plus, they taste a bit nasty, most pre-workouts. They're really sour.
Yeah. You grow. It's funny. Pre-workouts, I periodize them a little bit, and so I only use them now and then. And I initially, when I start them, I'm like, ugh. And then by the end of that time I'm using it, it's normally like final week before deloading, I am introducing them, and then by the final week I grow accustomed to it. I'm like, oh, I like this, and then it's removed again. But that makes a ton of sense. And I guess I jumped the gun a little bit because I wanted to kind of tell the listeners your season, and kind of you did 1, 2, 3, 4. You did 5 shows, so quite a handful of shows, and you did very well this season. I don't know if
was it 5? I'm trying to remember. Was it 5? It may have been 5. You might be right.
I have 5 anyway, unless I missed any. I think you definitely did at least 5. So sorry. One of them was guest posing, so it was the island guest posing.
Yeah, that was 5. Yeah, you're right. It was on stage.
So was there any So for the listeners, you did the WNBF Island guest posing, the NABA England the Classic, which you won, the WNBF Germany Pro Show, which you came third, I believe.
Yep.
NABA Mr. Universe again, you came third at that one. And then WNBF Worlds, where you came second in the pro class, in the world pro class, which, I mean, quite a record. I don't know if any of those stand out to you in particular. I don't know if we want to walk through every single one.
Oh gosh, what can we say about all those different ones and which ones stand out from there? I have got a YouTube series, actually, I should mention.
Oh, amazing!
If you go over to Pro Prep Coaching, you can see we made an actual vlog, and we got a videographer and everything like that. We hired him to come and film a lot of stuff, so you can go and follow this stuff on the YouTube. So just head on over there. The Irish show was great. That was good. Doing a guest spot, because that was kind of like a soft entry into the whole contest season. Because the last time I competed was 2019, and that was in November. So coming back and getting on stage at the Irish show was great, because I hadn't been on stage for 3 years, and you just forget what it's like being up there. And as much practice as you can do in the mirror, you just can't practice for that sort of adrenaline dump that you get when you're on stage, and how that makes you kind of feel a little bit anxious. It's a great feeling. Like, we were kind of all addicted to that, I think, when we're doing the bodybuilding. But yeah, the Irish show was great. We loved going over there to help those guys with that, because that was their first ever show, and I'd love to go over again and do that next year. And what was nice about that was that Chelsea Doherty, who came third at the Worlds in the fit body class, she did the guest spot as well, and she's one of my clients. So I got to do the guest spot with her. So that was kind of like a bit of a little unique experience. And all these shows that I did, I had different posing routines for them. And I love doing posing routines, like coming up with different routines. And that was quite a cool one. I really enjoyed doing that. The Irish people were so nice. It was Finbar and Lil, who organised it, are lovely people. And do you know what? They drug tested all 50 odd, 60 athletes that took part in that show. So respect for them as well. And that's going to be a really a show that grows over the years. But yeah, that was kind of like a tester to get back up on stage, and it was well worth doing it, because like I just forgot completely how it all went. But the first sort of big show, I guess, we did that year was the NABA England, I suppose, and that was kind of daunting doing that one, because you're going up on stage against guys that are non-tested of you, like the assisted guys. And have you ever done it yourself?
I this is going to sound really bad, but I barely have felt big enough or good enough as a bodybuilder against natural competitors. So going against like untested guys, I'd be like, damn, I'm just going to look like an idiot. Maybe in future though, maybe I'm kind of plucking up the courage and I can see myself. So no, I haven't done it.
Well, to all the things that you're talking about there, like that, I'm getting the same sort of experience and sort of feelings and stuff like that when I'm going to go and stand up against those guys. Because if I stand on stage and like that Pro Worlds I did, I was the heaviest guy in the middleweight class at my height. Like, so I'm the biggest guy in the class, but you're going to go up against these other guys. It's like, okay, all of a sudden you're really getting taken out your comfort zone. So that was a real daunting thing to go and do that. But and you kind of weigh it up from two different perspectives. As a natural bodybuilder, should you be going and doing these shows? Because some people are saying like, well, you're promoting that side of the sport. But then on the other hand, if you go and you do well at these shows, at the same time you're showing, well, actually, look how great you can look, and you don't actually have to use performance enhancing drugs. So you've kind of got like sort of two different sides of the same coin going in there on that one. So NABA for me, when I first started training and working out, one of my first coaches was a guy called William Shields, and he'd done the NABA Universe. And then I went and worked with Extreme Nutrition. We went around all the NABA shows, but the NABA Universe was like the big show in the UK. Like that was really the blue ribbon stage to do it. And that was at the time when you had the UK BFF and they did all the IFBB stuff, but still you had the NABA Universe was the show. And I remember doing it in 2019, and I finished out with the top 5 on that one. So for me this year, it was like a little bit of redemption. I wanted to go and do the NABA Universe again. So that was like the gateway, was do the NABA England, And if you do well at the NABA England, then you can go to do the NABA Universe. And it's a tough show because you either qualify at the NABA Britain as one of the top guys, or you do this show and you get to go to the NABA Universe. So all the best guys that want to go to the Universe were there. So I was very pleased that I gave myself a good showing. That earlier show that I did over in Ireland, whereby I got that little bit of stage experience, it was so valuable because it forced me up my game a little bit more in terms of my posing practice and my preparations and everything from there. And then at that point, you're on stage and getting a win against those guys, and guys that were really good competitors as well, gives you that little bit of confidence as well. The major things that stand out from that one was I had to make weight, so I've got to be under the 80 kilo mark. And I don't know if you've ever tried to make weight before.
Not yet, thankfully.
Well, it's never fun.
No,
it's never fun because you have to be just dehydrated and watch everything that you're actually eating. So it was a good opportunity to sort of try a few things out from there. So basically, the day before that show, I think I restricted the water from about 5 p.m. And then just sort of sipped on water after that. And I restricted the fibrous carbohydrates the day before, limited my calories to about probably 1,600 with protein. And then the next day, weighed in, having not really drunk anything, got in at just under 80 kilos, and then I smashed as many carbs as I possibly could. And I did something slightly different. So I got some, Lucozade Sport.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you normally as a bodybuilder, you wouldn't think about doing anything like that sort of stuff. Lucozade Sport, I mean, madness. But I remember previously, in terms of carbing up, I'd tried fructose powder. And I thought, okay, right, I want to try and get about 90 to 120 grams of carbohydrates in me quite quick. Then in an hour's time, I want to try and get a little bit more. So I drank a couple of them for hydration's sake. I think a punnet of grapes, and then some bananas, and then I had some jam and some more rice cakes, and then that was enough to get me nice and full and help me take the win on that one. So yeah, that was it was a good experience, and I got to qualify for the Universe as well. So that was cool. I like that. That was the only win of the season, so I should be particularly taken for that.
Do you not see the progress you would like? Are you sick of writing your own programs? Or perhaps you need some accountability in order to stick with a plan? Then it's time to start working with us. We at Revive Stronger offer a truly personalized coaching service. You'll get more than just an email with some macros or random cookie cutter program. With Revive Stronger, you will be the center of our attention. You will receive your own fully individualized training protocol alongside a customized nutritional strategy. We created the coaching around your needs, wants, personal preferences, and your own unique lifestyle. Every single week, we delve into your program in order to make appropriate adjustments so that we get the most out of your time and the best possible outcome. We help both female and male athletes to seriously change their body composition by adding more muscle mass and decreasing fat tissue. No matter if you're a competitive bodybuilder or just want to look better, if you need help with your progress and taking your physique to the next level, our coaching is for you. It's time to make a change. Sign up today and let's revive stronger.
Yeah, I think your point of kind of the pre-stage kind of jitters almost, dust off the cobwebs. I can even think to last season, I did the I called it a warm-up show because I didn't have it planned, and I went and did a WNBF qualifier. And man, I can just remember how I felt on that stage in terms of like my quads were just jittering like nothing, like hard to contract them when they're like that, when you're that anxious and kind of like you said, you just got that adrenaline rush. I don't know, apart from that practice, do you have any clients who have struggled with that and you have like advice? Like, I guess, cause I don't know, you're a posing coach. And so it's part, because you can practice all you like you said, from home, but as soon as you're on the stage, it's like that whole like adrenaline rush and everything that's going on. It's a big change versus like, I know at home I could hit my quads perfect, and then when I'm on stage, I'm like, oh damn, like.
Well, that's a good question as well. I think you need to over practice for a start, because you forget that on the day, most people struggle to sleep the night before the show.
Yeah.
So you've got that from there. So you're tired, you've got tan on, so you're all sticky and stuff like that. You're stressed because you've got everything going on. You might have had to make weight. Often you're not as hydrated as you could be, or maybe you are. It depends on what you're doing. You're in an unfamiliar setting, and then when you go on stage, you get that, you've got those bright lights, and you've got the adrenaline pump as well, and you've done a whole load of pumping up backstage. So the conditions are completely different to when you practice. And most people, when they practice, like I always say, I practice with a stopwatch because I find it very useful in there because you can at least progress with it because you can add 10 seconds, etc. On there. But where people struggle is they don't squeeze hard enough when they're doing it. And until you do that sort of first warm-up show, it's having that barometer of how hard you've got to sort of squeeze. So I often say over practice. So if you put in enough minutes of standing in those front relaxed shots and doing enough rounds, then when you've got that big adrenaline dump and you're using up so much energy when you're on stage, at least you've prepared way too much so that you've got enough in the tank so you can do that. So that's the first thing. The second thing I always sort of say to people is if you can visualize, so you use mental imagery, that's very useful. So if you can go into the venue in advance, go see a show in advance, that's helpful at the same place. But go around, have a look and see where the people are standing on the stage, where the compere is, where the line is, look how the call-outs are working, how the judging is going, go backstage to make sure that you understand where the pump-up areas and everything like that, so you can have all these things and you've done your recce in advance, and then build up a mental picture in your head of what it's going to be like when you get on stage. So you're going to be squeezing your quads and your arms, your legs, everything like that on the stage. You're going to be sweating, what that feels like, what the sounds are going to be like. And the more vivid the image you can build up using all 5 of your senses, then the better. And if you can build that whole experience up to being 2 minutes, 5 minutes on stage, that can be helpful. So that's another thing. And then the other thing I think is helpful is if you can stop people going on to autopilot, and that's a major thing as well. So if you can get people when they're up there not to just go on adrenaline and get them to just calm down and remember, okay, this is just what I've been doing before. Take a breath, execute my shots, do my quarter turns like I should be doing them. Don't oversell them or just calm down so I can turn for them properly so I don't slip or make mistakes and things like that. If you can get them to calm down and then they can start enjoying it, I think those are the things I sort of would say. So over practice, imagery, not going on to autopilot, self-talk when you're on the stage as well, execute your points. All these things are helpful. So try them out, Steve.
Yeah, no, it makes complete sense. I think the last one there in terms of like not going into autopilot is a tough one because I think at least that's something like I drill into myself. Yeah. It's like I want to impress from the get-go. So I'm like, I need to be on, I need to like show off. And so you build that up immediately. And you see it with like even as a judge, I've seen it where people are a bit too relaxed and they're almost like they're not showing themselves and then they kind of grow within the posing. So it's a nice balance you have to find.
There's a balance for sure. For sure.
I think that again, that advice of you can't practice enough with posing. It's just you can't. So that makes tons of sense. I know you even shared, and I saw it too, to jump the gun a little bit with the WNBF Worlds, like in that class, super competitive, but there was one person stood out to me is they weren't hitting a pose like a pro. Like they just weren't posing, showing off their physique, and like it's crazy to think even at, like how well that person's done to get to that level without the posing even being
champion. Like, why are you not able to show your goods?
So, and the great thing for that person is they've got something easy that they can suddenly jump places, which is quite cool. Whereas like yourself, there's not much you can probably do on the posing front.
I think there's always ways you can improve. I think there always is things. I was watching Frank Zane today. I was like, need to hit my abs and thighs shot like that. But I don't know if many people can hit an abs and thighs quite like Frank Zane.
Yeah, that's true. So now we're on to the WNBF Germany, where you came third in that pro class. I mean, the Germans, I mean, like me and Pascal were talking about the quality of competitor.
Those guys, like, I mean, that was a beautiful show, by the way. That was really nice. I've rarely done a show in such an idyllic setting. It was like the Sound of Music, you know, when she's like spinning around in the countryside and there's like a beautiful ski lodge. And it was like that, the little town they held it in outside Munich. You're like, this place is amazing. Really, really nice. So the German show, it pains me to say it, I think the standard may be slightly higher there for natural bodybuilding than it is in the UK. The guys were phenomenal. And James Melville went across with me because he won the pro card at the Irish show. And he was making his pro debut. And I remember we watched the overall. for the amateurs, and they were giving it 2 pro cards in overall. And we both watched it like with our mouths gas, like how good are these guys? And we're like, well, there goes first and second James and the pro lineup after that. The thing about the standard's just really high, and they all look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I was like, wow, they're all big blonde units. Slight stereotyping there, but no, the standard was great. And the junior lineup, I mean, there's a lot of potential there. That's one of the best junior lineups I think I've ever seen. I'm struggling to think of a better one from there. So yeah, that was the first big show for me that season, though, was to do this German show. And I was thinking, right, okay, I've got a good record in terms of pro contests, and maybe this is one that I could win, right? Going into that one from there. And I remember Samuel Hartman. You remember him from the previous year? Great bodybuilder. He won the pro card at our show, and I remember seeing him outside, and I was like, Samuel, you're a great bodybuilder. You're fantastic, and you're definitely the future, but not today, right? Because I was just teasing him, right? Yeah. And he beat me.
Yeah. Samuel has the kind of muscle bellies, his symmetry, like it's just absurd, like shapes that he throws out.
Yeah, I think he's possibly the best poser I've ever seen. He's amazing. He's so good at putting together routines. He's just fantastic. He's very creative. He's clearly a student of the sport. I see him doing all the classic Francis Benfatos and Bob Paris shots, and he can move elegantly and brilliantly, and he's just very, very broad. His shoulder to hip waist ratio is ridiculous. He's got huge quads. His conditioning is enough, and unfortunately for me, his strengths are also my strengths. So the judges just ended up going with him in the end. And the chap that won the overall championship for the amateur, Fabian Faird, he won the German show. James, to his credit, came 4th, so he was just behind me in that show. It was a great show for him, and I think what was the expression he said? The guy from the PCA said this to him. He said that he turned up to the PCA Britain because he won the classic class there without his skin. I mean, like, he was shredded.
Yeah, James gets so shredded.
That kind of conditioning, it's like, wow. Like, you're always going to be in contention with that stuff. So, no, that was fun. I enjoyed that show. The look that I had for that one, I think it was slightly tighter than the NAB at England. But I think what I really needed to do for that show to push Samuel, because I think there was an argument I could have been ahead of Samuel in that one. I wasn't beating Fabian though on that one. I think it needs to just be a little bit tighter for that, and that probably goes back to the things that we did within the prep for there. But it was a lot of fun. It was a good show, and competing internationally, you've done it. It is cool.
Yeah, for sure.
It's really, really good. So after that show, because I wasn't particularly happy with the look that I had there, because I felt like, okay, I managed to get decent fullness, but I didn't quite have the separation in my legs that I wanted to have. I didn't quite have the separation and the arms. I had the size, and I've got the posing, and that's always going to help me. So I think for the next 2 weeks after that, because I had the NABA Universe, and then I had the WNBF World, which was 3 weeks after that German show, I think it was. I got to work on doing much more cardio. Before that, I'd been doing like 30 minutes 5 times per week. And I think I upped it to doing 40 minutes 5 times per week. And then the week after that, I was doing 50 minutes. And like, I just went with like half the amount of carbs. So it was only about 200 grams. And then we just took it down to 100 grams for the first show. And then Steve, for the Worlds, I just killed myself. I just went 0 carbs for about 6-7 days. And I was not fun to be around.
No, I bet.
I was just like, I was miserable. That's when I started getting the worst food focus, and the sleep was worse. And that's when my body fat levels were probably at the lowest. And I think if I'd managed to get the look that I had from the Worlds a little bit earlier, then I could have maybe changed some of the results that I'd got on those other ones. It was still a great season. Still a great season, but when you reflect on things. So, yeah, Germany was still a lot of great fun, though.
you mentioned obviously you're tracking macros,
Yeah.
cardio. Were you also tracking steps or anything like that alongside?
Yeah, I was. So I mean, habitually just doing about 4.5 to 5,000 steps per day, and then I was doing a little bit more at the weekend, and I think I managed to up it to around about 6,000 steps. And I just kind of kept that fairly consistent for the whole prep. It was the cardio where I was really making the biggest inroads in terms of, let's say, the cardio. It was the stationary bike that I was making the biggest inroads in terms of the cardio. I mean, it's good to just walk for the sake of just getting some activity. And I mean, I do this job like you where you're sitting at a desk all day. So I walk to the gym and that's 20 minutes. I walk back is 20 minutes. And that works out around about the steps from there. And then I look after my 4-year-old, and he's a 4-year-old running about crazy on bouncy castles and stuff.
You have to pick your poison, because I didn't do any cardio during my prep, but I ended up at a weight like 10 kilo weighted vest and doing, I think on average 15 plus thousand steps. So it's like, well, you could look at me and be like, oh, he got away with no cardio, but you had less than 10,000 steps and no weighted vest. So it's kind of like, there's no easy route.
I mean, would you do it again with a weighted vest, or would you just go, nah, screw this, I'm going right?
I might try sticking to the 5 kilo and just wearing it for steps and nothing else. Because I was wearing 10 and stood all day, it just became such a psychological burden to have to think about standing all day with this thing on. So yeah, I'd modify it a little bit.
I mean, you must, at what point did you get over it and you're like, right, I am no longer feeling like a Dragon Ball Z character here. This is just not fun anymore.
Yeah, that actually happened quite soon. I was very pleased.
That's what I thought.
To get rid of it.
When I was doing the stationary bike as well, I was just working. I was just like answering messages and doing this sort of stuff. Or I would I'd do it in the house on my treadmill and I just game. I just play like little video games.
So we've got... Sorry, go on.
Oh, no, go on.
I was just going to say, so we've done the WNF Germany, and then you had the NABA Mr. Universe. Did you have many expectations going into that? How did you feel that went?
Well, that was again, it's a difficult one because you're always going out to do these shows and you want to do your best. And we talked about being tested, untested. You don't want to embarrass yourself. That's the other thing. And particularly when you're a good natural competitor, you feel like you're flying the flag for the rest of us natty. So you don't want to let anyone else down. So going into it, because I've placed out the top 5 the previous year, I was a bit, I wasn't really sure, but getting the win against guys at the NABA England, and also because I knew the judges that judged that show would also be probably, a number of them would be at the NABA Universe, I thought that was going to stand me in good stead because they've seen me already. Sure. So when it comes to the call-outs, they'll go, no, let's have a look at Andy because he won that show a few weeks ago. So let's see how he compares going in. So, and I also knew I had a better look. So I'm bigger than I was in 2019 when I did it before. I think I posed better than I did in 2019 before. I spoke to the head judge as well at the NABA England. I knew he was the head judge at the NABA Wales. And he was a fan of Ming's. NABA Universe, not NABA Wales. He was a fan of Ming's. So I thought, okay, at least I'm going to get some probably call-outs here, and then it's up to me to kind of do the rest. I also knew that a boy Plamen I competed against before. I think he won the NABA Universe before, so I was up against him. But I thought, you know what, I fancy my chances against him. And if I could beat him, then I'd probably win the show. So I thought, okay, make top 5. That's the thing that you want to get out of this. I think there was maybe 10 of us in that show, and the chap that won was a guy from France. A guy called Christopher. Oh, sorry, his second name escapes me, but it's just a big guy. Yeah. Ultimately, you go into those shows and you're going to go up against that, and a very nice physique, great V-taper. I think there was an argument that I could maybe potentially done. Plamen, who was not as, I would necessarily argue, as pretty as me in terms of that classical look. I mean, it was a NABA sort of show. You've got that shaved head, muscular guy. I think for classic, you need to at least have hair. Or maybe not. But yeah, you want to have that sort of that good aesthetic and look healthy as well. I think that's the other thing about classic. So no, third was a great result. I was really, really happy with that one. I think I could have got the food a little bit better on that one because I took a very similar approach that I took for the NABA England one, but because it was a day before weigh-in, I was able to change the meal timings. I think I just ate slightly too much close to stage time, so it was a little bit bloody in the midsection compared to how I would like to be. But otherwise, it was good fun. It was good looking. I kind of sort of exercised the demon there from before and done the NABA Universe. It was cool.
Yeah.
What was so funny? It's NABA, right? So you turn up to this show and like we all know what NABA is, and he had this like background thing like NABA Universe 2022 sponsored by Peak Bodies, and like they had a range of supplements on the stage. I was like, oh look, they're all SARMs and basic steroids.
Perfect.
You're like, great guys. I mean, I know this is NABA, but you be more subtle at least.
Brilliant. And I mean, you bested 2019 where you came. Where did you come in 2019? Fourth?
In 2019 at that particular show, they placed the top 6, so I think I would have been maybe 7. On that one. Judging by the call-outs and stuff, I never got the scorecards.
Okay.
I would love to do it again, but I don't know if I could. If they would give me an invite to go to the finals and do the universe rather than doing the qualifier, I'd maybe consider doing it. But like they normally only give the top 2 a invite from there, because I don't know if I want to do the qualifier ever again.
Sure.
From there, and next year there's a number of other shows that I think we can look at from the natural European scene. What would be cool pro shows.
Yeah. And then obviously WNBF Worlds,
Worlds,
huge event. And to me, obviously I did the year prior. This looked bigger, more people competing, especially on the pro side, but also in the amateur ranks. How did that go for you? How did you feel that went?
Oh, it was amazing. It's great. I mean, you did it yourself. You've reflected on what it's like to go and do these pro shows and do these world finals. It's so much fun, and going across as the team was great as well, because prior to that, like, okay, I'm going across and I'm like the promoter and the representative for it. But what was nice was like I got to be part of the team as an actual athlete, which was kind of cool, and sort of live that again, which was really, really nice, rather than being like slightly separate from it. So that was cool. So it was good. I'd never been to LA before, so that was cool. LA is massive, by the way. That place is like ridiculous. It's like 18 million people. I was like getting anxiety when we're flying, and I was like, look how big it is. It's so big. So big. The theater that they held the show in as well, Steve, it was so cool. So cool. It was like something from like the golden era of Hollywood. It was like all Art Deco walls. It was like a crazy high ceiling. It was like being at like the Oscars from like the 50s or something like that. But like the glamour and everything. It was such a cool place. And then you're right. Yeah, I mean, last year when they did it was coming off the back of COVID. But this year when they did it, it was much more akin to how they'd had it in the past. I think there was over 250 athletes. The pro classes were stacked. What was amazing is like the 10 guys in my class were all from different countries. So it's like a proper international event. And I think we had the winners German. I was British. Third place was, oh gosh, I'm now forgetting who was in third. Was it Kerwin Clark? I think from Africa. We had Nunez, who was in fifth. He's the American. And then in fourth place, oh my God, I can't believe I forgot. It's someone's. I had them up online today when I was putting them out there.
Yeah.
I'll remember them later. But yeah, that was really, really cool. And I was really, that look that I had at that show, it was so close, because I knew, like, I looked at all the photographs after that German championships I've done. I'm like, okay, what do I need to do to beat Fabian? Like, I'm as big as him. Unfortunately, when I was looking at like shot per shot, like you do, you're like, okay, can I beat him in the side chest? And I'm like, oh, he's got giant arms and massive shoulders. Then I'm like, okay, can I beat him in the rear shot? I'm like, oh, he's pretty brilliant there as well. So I was looking for a shot. And the thing that I resolved to do, like I said, was just get tighter. And I thought, okay, if I can get tighter, that might highlight more of my strengths, like my V-taper and the way I pose. And I because he's new to this as well, being a pro stage, I thought, right, I could probably outwork him on stage.
Yeah.
And the way that the call-outs and everything like that went, like it was me and him in the mix the whole way through, getting called out. And I was just wanting it to go on and on and on, because I thought, right, I'll probably be able to outlast everyone on this stage with the amount of posing I do. And I should be able to, otherwise I shouldn't be a posing coach. Like, come on, you've got to be able to hold yourself here.
Sure.
So like it came to it, and they did the announcement. I was like, I thought I was genuinely to get down to 5 and then 4 and then 3. They were like, you're down your last 2. Like, I could actually have this the way this is going. And he beat me in the end. And you know what? Great competitor. He's just brilliant. I fought in the overall against Bada. You've seen Bada yourself. I thought it was maybe going to pip him. Bada's got that crazy muscle though. Like,
freaky.
It's a special kind of thickness, not necessarily pretty to look at, but you're like, whoa, there's a lot going on there in terms of the slabs of muscle mass. So that show, I think I got everything just kind of came together the best for that one. I think we just got it all right. I think in the end, and it was a lot of fun. And then afterwards, as I say, I've since gained 6 kilos, so I went and enjoyed LA as much as I could.
Losing weight fast while maintaining muscle mass. Sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? It isn't though. It's reality, and we know how to do it, and we will help you achieve this. The Minicut Movement is an 8-week fat loss program to make you lose a huge chunk of fat while maintaining muscle mass at the same time. We will support you from the beginning to the end so that you see the results you would like to and come out of it much stronger. You'll receive a fully automated spreadsheet that is based on your nutritional needs. You can choose between 6 different male and female training templates. Over 30 videos will guide you through each and every single step of the Minicut so that you're getting the most out of your journey and that you always know what to do. But the best thing is that you can start whenever you want. The Minicut Movement is open 24/7. So if you want to learn more or you're ready to sign up, hit the link in the description below. So let's revive stronger together.
Yeah, for sure. With Fabian, he's just like, when I saw him winning that class, I was shocked to see, obviously Bada, like, if you didn't come across Bada, you might have like a chance of winning the overall. I'm sure he was in for a shot, but Fabian just has
I think he probably
a freaky
got a couple of first places.
Yeah. And he also, his tan looked different to everyone else's. He's just like this golden statue type of look.
I think it really, Joe, everyone had a certain type of tan, and his was a little bit different. And his just seemed to suit the stage lights that little bit different, which definitely gave him an edge. I mean, it's amazing. Sometimes stuff like that happens. We were all one color, and he was just a slightly different color that just suited the lights a little bit different. And I remember one of the Italian judges asked him, he was like, "Oh yeah, it's such and such. It's like it's a German company." Because he's German, I think he had a little bit of a joke where he was like, "Yeah, we're good at a lot of stuff, cars, and engineering, all this sort of stuff." So yeah, he was a great competitor. So now I need to sort of work out if I can. I think he's going to take a year off. So if he doesn't compete next year, maybe I can stand a chance of winning.
So you've already, I know you kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier. You've already got next year in the kind of as a target.
Yeah, I think I want to do it. I'm probably about 60 or 70%. The person I need to speak to though is Steph about this.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about this on the podcast now, and I've not really fully spoke to her about this yet. But can I do it? Can I not do it? Because it's hard prepping. Like you've got a partner. I'm so busy with running the WNBF and pro prep, and you take your eye off the ball ever so slightly with other things. I think when you're prepping, because it's just so all consuming, isn't it? Yeah. From there, but I do love it. It's and I think what was great about this year was as well. Like I did it all, and I was like, okay, Andrew, you've still got it. You're not over the hill quite yet from here. You can still hang with these younger guys, despite the fact that they're all 24, 25, and they're all like really good from there. So, and I've got 10 years on a lot of these guys. So it just means I've maybe got a little bit more experience. So yeah, I would like to maybe do it next year.
You've got, I mean, you're what, 34, 35? 35. I mean, I don't know. I kind of, you see obviously Alberto, I think he's in his 40s or he's close to around 40.
39.
39. I'm sorry. I don't want to age him. Jeff Alberts, like, of course.
50 odd.
Yeah. So I think you've got time.
Steve Howard. He competed until I think it was about 54. And like, I think if I do it next year, that's it, like done. Because I was thinking about it, it's like, when do you stop?
I guess when you stop loving it, maybe. That's kind of when I would think about it, maybe. Like, if you are, like, again, if you're over the hill and you aren't seeing the placings you used to see, you probably aren't going to still love it as much. Whereas if you're still, like you were very much in contention for winning WNBF Worlds, like, and then you'd be in the overall, and then who knows what happens there. So I guess is that your kind of like, that's the thing I want. I want to win.
I think my pro record is, I think I've done 8 pro shows, and I'm 6 third places and 2 second places. Yeah. So I've never won one. Right. So, and I was thinking about it, I was like, if I compete next year and do a couple of pro shows, then that'll take me to 10 pro shows. And some guys will work their whole career to try and win that pro card and never get there. Or when they win that pro card, they never even compete. And if 10 seems a bit arbitrary, but it seems like a good point where I could be like, okay, you had a go at it. You did 10 of them. And if you still didn't manage to win at that point, right, okay, Andrew, like, let's maybe call it a day here. Because I've got to let you younger guys, like I say, all have a chance from there. And there's so many other things that I want to do as well, because it just takes up so much time. There's things that I want to develop with the WNBF. And you get it as well, I'm sure. Like, you live vicariously for your own clients. I get so much out of helping them compete.
Yeah.
As well. It's a great thing. So I think, like, you see it with things like boxers and stuff like that. The smart ones, they retire when they're still at the top. And the ones that aren't so smart, they get punch drunk and battered, and like they fade away. And I feel like I just don't want to do it into my 40s. Not that there's anything wrong with doing that.
Sure.
But I feel like that seems like enough.
Yeah, you want to retire almost at your peak, as it were.
Potentially.
Potentially.
It may be the case that, like, it would be, if I did it again next year and I got all the way to Worlds and I came second again, then you're right. It's not like, I mean, that would be a great season.
Yeah.
You'd be like, yes, this is good. But you might have that little thing in you, you're like, oh, come on, you've got to you're almost there.
Yeah. And
you're almost there.
I guess in terms of like next year, what from this season do you think you would do better next season that didn't go quite to? I know you said at one of these you wish maybe you were in condition a bit earlier and you wouldn't have had to chase condition and diet as hard into Worlds. And imagine if you'd already, I don't know, had that condition and you were building food up or something at this point. Is that kind of one of the things you're looking? Is there anything else during this prep that you wish was slightly different?
Oh no, it's a great question. It's a really good question. And the context is always helpful. For this season, I started at 94 kilos. And there was points when I was 95.5 kilos. So I was quite heavy. And I mean, when you're competing at 80 odd kilos, that's a lot of weight to take off.
Sure.
And ideally, I would have started the diet earlier. And now I'm 86 odd just now, like I say. I don't think with this off season going into next year, I'm going to let myself get any heavier than 87, because the starting point matters. Because if I've not already got to lose a stone, then it makes a difference. Plus, I can lose it slower. That can help. You don't have to be as drastic with the food. And that can you can spend that period of time doing things like diet breaks, but you can harden up as well. And I can get a more extreme condition as well. And that's one of the things that I want to try and achieve this year, was to get a better level of conditioning I think I'd ever had before. And I don't think I quite managed to do that, because I put some images up today on my Instagram of me in 2017. I know the photography was different, but I was hard as nails in 2017, I remember. Really, really solid look. And I don't think I quite got that. And I wonder, like, if you could have got that, because the difference is, you see it with yourself when you're judging and you know when you're on the stage, the difference between winning and losing is tiny margins.
Yeah, it definitely can be.
So I think that the things I'd do differently is I'd keep myself in better shape. I would start my diet earlier. I'd start with higher foods. I think one thing that's going to be a major difference as well is this year I didn't really do a lot in terms of free weights, because I was knackered all year. I was seeing a physio like every 3 weeks near enough for the whole year, because I'd done, well, the physio reckons it might have been discs, it might have not been, but there was certainly something going on with my hip. And I think next year I'll just be able to squat. Like, and I love squatting. And like, I wasn't able to train my legs quite as much. I'll probably do more pressing, which I love doing. Big barbell movements as well. And I kind of stayed away from that and away from the dumbbells, just because like just chucking weights up and stuff were an issue. And I was looking at my physique. I was like, am I splitting hairs? Was my chest slightly larger in the past? Was I fuller there? Have I lost a little bit there? I'm not 100% sure. So there's a few little things that I would do differently from it. There's some lessons that I'll take from this year that were useful. I did less volume. That was probably a useful thing. And I implemented a strategy of doing kind of refeeds, but it's kind of like a 6 and 2 3 things, isn't it? Really, I mean, you either keep the calories high all week, or you go low all week and you have the calories higher at the weekend, or any sort of way you want to slice it. So those are the major things I think we do differently. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the biggest, again, like this is one of the things I guess you say, like as you're promoting like your services and talking to competitors, like give yourself plenty of time.
Yeah,
and
100%.
Give yourself time, and also not being as far away from stage. Like that's two in the same in a way. And I think like that's always beneficial, especially as you've had more experience, because once you're in that thick of it, of like now you're kind of stage ready, or you're in a good spot. Now we want to get you like to elite, and you have the mental toughness to stick it out at that point. Whereas I think some newer competitors might struggle more with that, where they're like, man, I'm already so lean, I'm already so dieted, and they kind of get mind games and everything. Whereas, kind of, right, I've been here before, let's stick this through. I know it's going to be really slow. The scale's not going to be particularly helpful, but I'll be able to see it and see that improvement. So yeah, I can only imagine not having to almost go as extreme into Worlds. Like even not having that week would have probably put you in a less stressed, fuller, like better, like for your condition to show through a little bit more.
Yeah, no, 100%. Do you know what though? In a weird kind of sick way, when you do something like that and you like sort of go real tunnel vision, heads down sort of thing, and you're smashing yourself like that, there is a sixth sense of achievement that you've done something like that. It's like, what were I was trying to think what they were called. The group of religious extremists during the plague era that were going around flagellating themselves, whipping their own backs and stuff like that.
Right.
For the extreme, you feel like you were paying your dues when you're doing that sort of stuff.
I mean, that's us bodybuilders love that. Yeah. We never want to pull back. We always want to push harder. Like that's what feels like it's right. But sometimes you have to, especially when you're going for that elite condition where just a like touch too much stress could push you in the wrong direction, actually pulling back exactly what you need. So yeah, I can imagine seeing you with just that extra touch of condition. Like you said, you were heaviest in your class. You're not miles taller than everyone. Like that says a lot in itself. You're clearly holding on to that muscle mass. So it is, if you can just get that touch a little bit more condition, I'm sure that's going to make a big difference for you.
Provided that Miguel Iniesta doesn't turn up ripped again.
Yeah, that is always the contention in that. In some ways, it's hard to aspire for a certain spot because it's like you don't know you're just the best on that day, but we're all competitive. And like you mentioned earlier, like some people, like maybe you could put me in this. I'm going to continue to compete and go for this pro card. Whether or not I get it ever, who knows? But I'm still going to try. And that's what I aspire to, just like you're aspiring here.
Yeah, no, it's a good thing. Like these are our vices. we love it. What you said earlier on is right. Like, that is probably the point when you retire, when you no longer have the love of it anymore. Like you were saying, that's the point. And as long as you're still loving pursuing, reason to continue going on and doing it. I've done it from like.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess this is a nice way. We're coming to the hour and we've kind of gone through your entire season. We've talked about next season, what's going to be different for you. So I could talk to you for longer about all of this, but it's probably a nice way to wrap it all up. You mentioned your YouTube already, where people can like get insights into all of this, and I've seen some of actually. I need to check it out because I've seen some of the reels over on Instagram, and the kind of videography. Everything looks fantastic. So, not even if people are just like interested, it's going to be a good watch. I can actually imagine that completely. But YouTube channel, Pro Prep, yourself, WNBF? Where should people kind of check all those things out?
Well, just like you said, so I'm wearing a t-shirt just now. So head on over to WNBFUK.com. So yourself, Steve, you are judging for us this year. Hopefully you'll join us again for judging next year. But you might be competing, actually. Not sure.
Not next year. I need more time.
Okay, so maybe have you behind the judges' desk again next year.
I would love to.
So check us out there. Also check us out on the Instagram as well. That's WNBF_UK. And then in terms of myself, if you want to follow me in my own journey, then I'm at Fueled by Scott's Oats. You'll find me on Instagram. And then Pro Prep Coaching. So if you're interested and you think that we can help you get in the best shape you can possibly get in, then I'm at Pro Prep Coaching, and it's proprepcoaching.com, and check us out on the YouTube, as you said already. That's Pro Prep Coaching as well. There's lots of video content on there, guys, and you can follow our journey on there.
Fantastic. Yeah, I can only recommend, like, people listening, if you're thinking about competing at the WNBF, like, just do it. It's a great time. And like, again, that kind of world's trip and everything, I've said it so many times, it was such a fantastic time to be with the team, and to hear you also had that experience doesn't surprise me at all. And obviously you're part of that, Andy, and you'll be there. Well, you'll be going to Worlds next year with people. Well, maybe you will be. Let's wait and hear from Steph. But yeah, make sure that's all linked in the bio below. And yeah, we'll catch you soon, guys. Cheers.
Excellent. Cheers. Bye.
So I'm Steve Hall, founder of Revive Stronger and a coach of Revive Stronger.
My name is Pascal Flor. I'm the co-owner of Revive Stronger and also a coach, of course.
Revive Stronger has probably been going solidly for 3 years, roughly about 3 years.
Revive Stronger, to me, it is becoming kind of my child, my foster child. It's the gathering and getting together of like-minded people.
We've been expanding the coaching team, which is helping us help more people. But each coach can only help a certain number of people.
Right now, it's all over the place. We have YouTube, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, but there isn't that community aspect behind that.
And so the next step for us is developing a membership site.
So basically, we want to create a family and a community that is then benefiting from another.
A really cool community for people within our little niche is going to be a website.
They will get early access to our podcast.
You can access us, ask us questions.
The community aspect, we have a forum there. You can ask questions, but also you can log your journey.
There's also going to be courses on there.
Courses, presentations on different topics. Discount of past seminar footage. We will log our journey as well. We'll start vlogging.
We're going to have documentaries.
Our entire athletic journey. Furthermore, they get access to an exercise video library.
The exercises that we love for hypertrophy and maximizing hypertrophy, we're going to go through those in depth, telling you how to execute them.
We kept them concise and also mobile friendly so that you can watch them in between your sets.
I'm super excited to grow this community. The amount of value that we're going to be delivering is huge, and I'd love you to be part of it.
You will get so much out of that.
I'll see you inside.